Think about a tree spending an entire summer of relentless effort building thousands of leaves that act like high-efficiency food factories. These leaves capture sunlight, water, and air to fuel the tree's growth. Then, as autumn arrives, the tree suddenly decides to throw away every single one of them. On the surface, it looks like a catastrophic waste of energy, doesn't it? But, well, it's far from a mistake. For perennial plants, this is a calculated survival strategy. Trees shed their leaves in autumn to avoid the staggering cost of protecting and maintaining them through the winter. If they clung to those leaves, the tree would face a lethal risk of freezing or drying out during the harshest months. This biological process, known as abscission, is essentially a shield against excess transpiration. By letting go, the tree isn't destroying its food factories. It's simply ensuring it survives to rebuild them from scratch next spring. Step into a late autumn forest. The air is crisp, the ground is a vibrant carpet of gold and crimson, and the scent of damp earth fills your senses. You might spot a single leaf clinging to a branch, trembling in the wind, barely holding on. It feels as if the tree is simply giving up, but in reality, it's preparing for a heist. In temperate zones, this annual leaf drop is triggered by the abscission of mature leaves, those that served the tree all growth season, in response to the plummeting temperatures. This is no random accident. It's a biological maneuver to handle unfavorable conditions before the first frost hits. For deciduous trees, shedding leaves is a survival mechanism that prevents internal water from turning into ice and rupturing the plant's tissues. An invisible chemical war is unfolding right now at the base of that leaf, and this is the only way these plants can endure the cold. To understand why a tree would deliberately sabotage its own machinery, we have to look at the biological budget. In the plant kingdom, there's a process called abscission. The term originates from the Latin words ab, meaning away, and cindere, meaning to cut. It's essentially a genetically programmed shedding of leaves, fruit, flowers, or seeds. But why invest so much energy into building an organ only to slice it away? Well, it comes down to survival. Plants abscise parts to discard members that are no longer useful, such as leaves in autumn or flowers once fertilization is complete. It's a strategic move to keep the metabolic budget in balance. If a leaf becomes damaged, the tree doesn't just leave it to rot. It triggers abscission to conserve water or protect photosynthetic efficiency. Think of it as the tree auditing its own assets. If a leaf is no longer producing enough energy to justify its maintenance cost, it transforms from an asset into a liability. By cutting the leaf away, the tree protects its overall metabolic health during the season, even before the winter freeze arrives. How does a tree actually perceive that the moment to let go has arrived? It isn't a guess, it's a precise biological clock. As the photoperiod shifts, meaning the length of the night grows longer, the tree begins to sense the change. When daylight hours shrink and temperatures start to dip, the tree's internal chemistry pivots. This is the trigger. Shorter, colder days signal the tree to halt the production of chlorophyll. The production stops because the tree knows winter is inevitable. Simultaneously, the flow of auxin, a growth hormone, diminishes. As this hormone fades, the same biological machinery that fueled expansion during the summer suddenly switches gears. The tree is no longer looking to grow. It's entering a deep storage mode. Chlorophyll is the chemical that keeps leaves green and allows them to harvest sunlight. But as the days shorten, a strange biological hazard emerges. During the breakdown process, chlorophyll molecules continue to absorb sunlight energy, even though photosynthesis has stopped. This creates a critical problem. Unused energy is transferred to oxygen molecules, turning them into dangerously active forms. If left unchecked, this reactive oxygen can tear through the parts of the leaf responsible for recycling and transporting nutrients. It's a desperate race against time. To minimize this damage, leaves break down chlorophyll into less volatile molecules that are typically transparent or yellow. But what about those stunning colors that define the season? Here's the secret. Yellow and orange pigments are actually present in the leaves from the very beginning, but they are masked by the dominant green of the chlorophyll. These hidden pigments, known as carotenoids, only reveal themselves once the green fades. Some trees, however, employ a different defense. They synthesize new, specialized pigments to shield the chlorophyll from sunlight until it can be safely dismantled. These pigments are typically red or purple anthocyanins. Trees that use this biological shield turn a bright, fiery red as they prepare to detach. It's a protective layer, ensuring the leaf's nutrient extraction process isn't interrupted by the sun. Here's where the process becomes truly fascinating. The tree isn't just discarding the leaves, it's stealing back its own investment. To prevent waste, trees recycle vital nutrients from their leaves before the drop. Since nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus are extracted from the soil with great effort, losing them all at once would be a biological disaster. Think of it as a high-stakes biological heist. The tree begins breaking down the cells and the photosynthetic apparatus from the inside out. This isn't a passive fall, it's a surgical extraction. Specifically, the tree recovers nitrogen and phosphorus from the leaf tissues and stores them safely in the trunk and branches for the next spring. If we could see the chemistry happening inside the leaf, we'd witness a massive recovery operation. This resorption process allows deciduous trees to reclaim roughly 50% of the nitrogen and phosphorus from their old leaves. Half of the tree's investment in its food factories is salvaged and tucked away for winter. It's a brilliant conservation strategy, recycling raw materials to ensure the tree has the starting capital required for new growth when the weather warms. Now let's zoom in, past the colors, right to the base of the leaf petiole. Here, the tree is constructing something very specific, an abscission layer. Imagine this layer as a biological airlock, a door closing between the leaf and the tree. At the base of the leaf stalk, the tree develops a specialized zone consisting of thin-walled parenchyma cells. Under a microscope, you would see this abscission layer as a distinct greenish-gray band. It isn't just a physical barrier, it's a precise breaking point. This mechanism allows the tree to periodically shed its terminal appendages without leaving the rest of the organism vulnerable. Once this layer is fully formed, the cause and effect is inevitable. The structural weakening of the abscission layer causes the leaves to fall. This ensures the leaf detaches cleanly from the stem, leaving the tree sealed and protected against the winter freeze. It's absolutely wild to realize that this programmed cell death is not just a seasonal routine, but a tactical strike. The tree is, essentially, performing surgery on itself to survive. But does the tree ever need to act faster? Well, in some cases, Premature leaf abscission serves as a plant's primary defense against infestations, such as gall aphids. Instead of waiting for the calendar to turn to winter, the tree simply cuts off the infected leaf to stop the pests from spreading. It's a precise biological bypass, sacrificing a single leaf to ensure the survival of the entire organism. Usually, a single gust of wind is all it takes. The biological connection has become so fragile that a tiny amount of mechanical tension is enough to snap the final remaining cells. When the leaf finally detaches, it doesn't leave an open wound. Instead, the tree leaves behind a protective scar. This seal is crucial because it prevents pathogens and fungi from entering the tree's vascular system, effectively locking the door against winter's diseases. The tree has traded its capacity for photosynthesis, the ability to turn sunlight into food, for a sealed fortress. By shedding the leaves, the tree eliminates the risk of water loss and internal freezing, ensuring it remains standing until the next spring. But what about the pines? You might be wondering why some trees simply refuse to participate in this annual teardown. Enter the evergreens. These trees keep their needles all year, remaining green regardless of the temperature. In tropical regions, many trees don't lose their leaves at all. But here's the real twist. Evergreen plants are actually abscising their leaves continuously. They aren't keeping every single needle forever. Evergreen species simply shed their leaves throughout the year in a slow, steady stream rather than one massive, coordinated collapse. It's a completely different survival strategy, a trade-off between a constant, low-level loss and the total factory shutdown we've been exploring. When we jump into a pile of leaves, we're actually jumping into the building blocks of the next generation. It's a beautiful cycle of utility. Those fallen leaves don't just vanish, they decompose, and as they do, they return critical nutrients to the same earth. When these leaves merge with the soil, they act as nature's own recycling system, feeding the very ground that supports the tree. The forest floor becomes a slow-release battery of energy, ensuring that the death of a leaf today supports the life of the forest tomorrow. Consider the sheer scale of these biological machines. The largest leaf ever recorded belonged to a raffia palm, measuring over 80 feet long, roughly the length of a basketball court. When we look at the process of abscission, we see it isn't just about leaves. It's a universal survival strategy. Fruit drop, for example, occurs when a plant abscises immature fruit to conserve resources, ensuring the remaining fruit can reach full maturity. It's a cold, calculated biological decision, choosing which parts to save and which to discard to ensure the organism survives. From the microscopic struggle of parenchyma cells to the vast crimson landscapes of autumn, the shedding of leaves is far more than a seasonal change. It's a masterclass in resource management. By recovering 50% of its vital nitrogen and phosphorus and sealing itself with a waxy protective scar, the tree transforms from a productive factory into a dormant fortress. This cycle is driven by a delicate hormonal balance between auxin and ethylene, a biological clock that tells the tree when to fight and when to retreat. But as our world changes, this clock is being disrupted. In many cities, the constant glow of streetlights interferes with the photoperiod, and it's tricking urban trees into believing the days are longer than they are. This leads to delayed leaf drops and increased vulnerability to early frosts. Are our cities accidentally breaking? The biological rhythms that have sustained forests for millions of years?